Jason Smith joining us now, Republican congressman from Missouri, chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. Thank you, sir, so much for joining us. It does appear, as Chad was just reporting, House leaders do seem more confident now that they have the votes. Does Mike Johnson have the votes?
I believe so, without a doubt. But I also would disagree. I think we've had the votes the whole time if we were going to move forward with an impeachment inquiry, Sandra. The issue is the White House has continued to stonewall all of our requests for information. In fact, we subpoenaed 2 DOJ tax investigators to come before Congress. And what happened? The White House, the administration prevented them to coming forward. They sent us a letter saying that they're not going to comply unless there's a formal vote of an impeachment inquiry. That's exactly what we're going to do tomorrow to make sure that we have 100% capability of getting all the information that we need to in this investigation.
To be clear, I mean, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy avoided a formal vote because he didn't have the votes, correct?
I believe we didn't do the vote because we didn't find it to be necessary. If you look at what's happened in the past, Nancy Pelosi started a formal impeachment inquiry without having a formal vote.
Very interesting. These 62,000 pages of records being made available to the House GOP impeachment inquiry, what do you think they'll reveal?
I'll tell you, we just continue to get more information. Just last week, Sandra, we had the 2 IRS whistleblowers come before the House Ways and Means Committee, and they provided over 100 pages of additional documents. Included in those 100 pages was 327 different communications from President Biden to Hunter Biden and his business associates all around 2014, before and after his 3 different visits to Ukraine. And they were all under fake alias names. So the more information we get in these emails, it's going to be a lot helpful.
Will any of it prove to be illegal communication?
Well, that's what we're going to have to see whenever we course through all the different emails. I'll tell you, with the information that's came forward by the IRS whistleblowers, time and time again, it should create doubt in all Americans of, is the president compromised? Is he the most corrupt in the history of this country? And that's what we're going to be looking into.
Okay. All right. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden now facing 2 different indictments. This is happening at the same time. In Delaware, Hunter's attorneys filed a motion to dismiss one of them, an indictment on 3 federal gun charges. They argue the cases are part of the plea deal that, as we all remember, fell apart over the summer. Meantime, in California, Hunter was indicted last week on 9 tax-related charges. A preliminary hearing is expected this week. His attorney dodging questions about those charges.
Did he file a false return? Did he evade taxes? I'm ending where I started. Goes into
it's
court, a yes or no.
It's not a yes or no, because you want to drill. No, of course it's not. You can't ask a yes or no question on a complex area of law. What you can say is Hunter was late in filing and paying taxes in certain years. That is a given, as are millions and millions of Americans who do the same thing. The difference is millions and millions of Americans who do the same thing are not then confronted with a 56-page, 9-count indictment.
Okay, so take that in. While a new piece argues Hunter Biden's drug addiction defense shattered by a new California indictment because he failed to report his taxes after becoming sober. Congressman, your reaction?
I'll tell you that 2 IRS whistleblowers came before us, and what the indictment last week confirms is everything what the IRS whistleblower said. They said he should be charged with all of these tax crimes. In fact, they thought he should have been charged with tax crimes in 2014 and 2015 tax years as well. But what happened? Biden's Justice Department allowed the statute of limitations to expire, so he could not be charged underneath that. It is good to see in California that the tax crimes that the IRS whistleblower suggested for 16, 17, 18, and 19 tax years, in fact, have taken effect.
Meanwhile, one editorial board says the Hunter Biden charges indict Biden's Justice Department too, Congressman, adding Garland repeatedly had denied that Weiss had been hamstrung in his investigative efforts. Yet once the whistleblower testimony and thousands of pages of supporting documentation shamed Garland, into finally making Weiss a special counsel, Weiss was able to bring these charges that could have been filed long ago if the Biden-appointed U.S. attorneys in California and D.C. had fully cooperated. Essentially, Garland appears to be running a protection racket for President Biden. Do you believe that to be the case?
Sandra, if any person without the last name Biden would have been investigated just like this process, charges would have been brought years ago. Not last week. They would have been brought years ago. And the IRS whistleblowers even testified before the Ways and Means Committee last week, saying in their more than decade years of service as investigators, they've never seen this kind of obstruction in an investigation.
That's a big statement. I mean, what sort of repercussions should there be for that if that's the case?
Well, the House needs to be cleaned out if people are using the power of the law to help protect themselves.
Congressman, always appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
We'll watch where it all goes.